Hey, what's up, guys? Sprout Gandhi back with some more choices that matter, and the sun went out. And when we last left off, somebody took Modi. Someone stole him, and now Dolores has made a list, and we've already crossed off Etienne because I don't think he would do that. I don't think Sharon would do it either. So I told Dolores saying I don't think Sharon would do that. But yeah. Um, and let's just continue. We're in Russia right now, by the way, on a private estate. Dolores sighed and and put set aside her notepad to look at me. Haven't you learned that I'm on your side yet? She asked, folding her arms. You'll forgive me if I don't always believe that, I retorted. And in any case, your lackeys, Dagger and Crank, aren't exactly my favorite people either. They would never, she said, swiping her hand in a definitive action. Why not? They work for the company. They work for me, she snapped, growling, and I trust them. All you have to do is trust me. Silence fell between us, and I swayed in decision. Did I trust Dolores? She rolled her eyes, sensing my turmoil. We've worked together for years, she snarled, yet you'll believe the Australian over me? I thought about it hard. It was true that Dolores had never let me down despite our differences. I trust you, Dolores. Take yourself off the list. I honestly, I do trust her. I'll take that as a kindness, she said dryly, scribbling another note on her paper. Who else is on that list? I asked wearily. Matron and Petrus are still on the list. Matron, of course, being in Beijing and Petrus here in Moscow. We'll have to get communications running between us all so we can figure it out, I murmured. Yes, she said dismissively. Then there's the two groups, Children of Gaia and Aetherites. Oh my good lord. Oh my god. Who the fuck did it? I bet it was one of the kidnappers. I don't trust them. Even though they seem like they could be trusted now, I don't. I doubt we can make any assumptions about them with the younger members in the picture. I sighed, though they were outside with me when we stopped in Beijing. You think that matters? She asked, raising an eyebrow. That would be the best time to swipe Modi, I nodded. Less people around, less caution needed. That does make sense. I stood up and started pacing. I knew it was because it was on my mind, but my wrist felt lighter, naked. Well, while Crank is refilling the jet and I'm setting up communications with our team in China, we need to get moving. Moving? I asked in confusion. Moving before the fueling? That data isn't going to collect itself, she scoffed. I've got to find Modi and Sharon first. You think we should move ahead knowing that someone among us is underhanded? Yeah. She laughed, tucking away her notepad again. People are always underhanded. We just have to be better at it. Not exactly the response I was looking for. Follow me, she sighed, not waiting to see if I followed. She led me outside and started making towards what looked like a pool house that was too small for a pool. I let myself fall behind her quick step and pulled out my phone. I had a hard time believing that my friends would take Modi from me, knowing how important it was, but I had to wonder. I scrolled through the contacts I had and paused at Etienne's and Sharon's name. Call Sharon. 'Cause she's here, and she asked. The line didn't even ring before going to a pre-recorded voice message, and I hung up in frustration. Don't dawdle, Dagger called from the pool house-like structure. She gets pissed when you do. Sighing, I shoved my phone back in my front pocket and followed them inside. The building turned out to be an upmarket garage with several cars parked against the wall. Dolores was standing on the other end where Crank and herself were arranging a desk. We'll find who stole Modi, Dagger murmured behind me, startling me. It's important to you and we can't have you distracted. I don't trust you. I was oddly touched by the gesture, even though I knew it was simply pragmatic pragmatism from Dagger. Perhaps I was going soft. Maybe. This is where we're most likely to be able to gather the information, Dolores called to me, pointing to a map. I walked over and saw she was pointing to the very middle of Moscow. That'll be easy, I muttered sarcastically. The government falling apart, peep. The government falling, peep. Or, oh my god. The government failing, people taking up arms, and chaos rife everywhere. You want to go to the most populated part of the city. You chose Russia, she reminded me pertly. Dagger's working on getting us floor plans. It's a government building, after all. Dagger nodded from where she was sitting on a laptop before her phone started ringing. She stood and walked a distance away. My phone connection was back. I shoved my hands in my pocket and wondered if I could excuse myself to call my friends again. I know you don't like guns, so what is that? I pulled a piece of paper out of my pocket. Sharon's handwriting was on it. I blinked, puzzled. Why did Sharon leave me a note instead of telling it to me in person? What? Unless there was someone Sharon didn't trust on that plane. It's from Sharon. I don't use that pocket. I hadn't realized it was there. It read, "Sorry, mate, I had to leave." Huh? What the hell are you talking about? I have this friend, a hacker, the best in the country, probably. I can't expose him to the rest of the group. To say that his death is wanted by many is an understatement. I'm turning off my burner cell. I'm okay, I just need to see him alone. That's why it didn't respond. As soon as I've talked to him, I'll call, but until then, stay safe, please. Sharon. Well, Dolores prodded, what does it say? Does she have Modi? I shook my head, folding it and putting it back in my pocket. She's chasing a lead, a dangerous one. By the sound of it, she'll contact us later. Dolores waited for more and rolled her eyes when it became obvious that she wasn't going to get it. Sure. I rubbed my eyes wearily. My sleep on the plane hadn't seemed to do me any good. What were you saying about guns? I asked, trying to get us back on track. You won't need one, she replied, passing me 3 black weapons. Tasers? I turned them over in my hand. It felt like a gun. Non-lethal. I know you like that, she said, judgment in her voice. There's only enough charge for a shot each. If you need to, bring the taser back to Crank and he'll recharge them. Can I tase Dolores? So there's more than 3 assailants? Crank laughed behind Dolores and she raised an eyebrow at me. You're the one who don't like guns, she said. Touché. Man, give me a gun any day, bro. Man, fuck a taser. Dagger walked back over to us, hanging up her phone. That was Peter, she called, coming to stand next to me. He has struck out with all of his contacts. They're either leaving the country or have already gone. So quickly, Dolores asked, frowning. Dagger nodded. He's on his way back now, but the situation's worse than we thought. He got caught in the middle of 2 gunfights since arriving in Moscow. Good God. Have we heard from Farrer and Satin? I asked, standing straight. Maybe Russia was a bad idea. Not yet, Crank answered. I'll give him a call now, see if I can get through. We have to move fast, Dolores murmured as Crank moved away with his phone. What about Sharon? She's on her own. She's your problem, not mine, Dolores Scott. We have to move as soon as we have those floor plans. Fine, but then we have to find Sharon. No, you go. I'm going after Sharon. Fuck that, I'm going after Sharon. Dolores raised an eyebrow in disapproval. Do you really think that now is the time to separate? She asked, folding her arms. It's what we're doing already, I shrugged. 1 team in China, 1 in Russia, and all of us separated. We got here. Oh my God. But we're going to be fine, I sighed, looking around at the 3 of them. They were set up without any help from me. You know what you're doing, and you have each other's backs. Whatever Sharon's doing, she might need someone to watch over her back. Dolores sighed and nodded, grabbing a bag and passing it to me. Passports and money. Be safe and come back with something useful. Leaving the garage, I headed back to the jet. I was relieved that Dolores had let me go so easily, but it also left me wondering how I was even going to find Sharon. Back on the jet, I moved my tools and gadgets into the new bag Dolores had given me. I sat and stared at my tablet for a moment, trying to figure out how I could track down Sharon. I'm not a good hacker, but I'm gonna search for Russian hackers. Scrolling through the top items, I found several links to a video game that had been in development for 7 years before funding shortage and had shut it down. There were also a few learn to code websites and some rebels against the world online groups. Just when I was about to give up, I found an article from over 20 years ago about a capture of a group of hackers that had skimmed sensitive information from the government. There's a photo at the end of the page and I examined it carefully. That one, I exclaimed. That one is Sharon's type. No one answered me. He was muscled, tattooed, and he had a dangerous look. All the others were weedy and nerdy. That one was the best bet for Sharon. He was simply referred to as a Vatic in the article. It didn't say where he had ended up. Ring around prison institutions. Ask Dolores for help. She's probably not going to help me, though. I stuck my head out the jet door to see Dagger walking past. Hey, you got a second? I asked, waving her over. What is it? Dagger asked, tiredly. I need to find this man, I told her, showing her the photo. I have no idea how to do that. Dagger gave me a baleful expression and shook her head. I work for Miss Montague, not you, and you chose to split up. Fuck you. Fuck you do. Without another word, she left the plane, giving an annoyed look to the frantically flickering overhead light in the cockpit. Crank stuck his head in the doorway, appearing bored. Montague wants to confirm that you still don't want a gun. It's worth it if you ask me. What would have changed my opinion in the last hour? I asked, frowning. Prison system failure. They've lost control of a few prisons and hundreds of convicts have broken out. That was interesting. Okay, I'm getting a gun. Nah, give me the gun. I need a gun. Okay. I would have been like, if he said that, I'd be like, all right, give me the gat. He nodded, dropping a box on the counter. I stowed it in my bag. If prisoners were escaping all over the country, maybe my Russian hacker was already out. Maybe Sharon even had a hand in it. Oh God, Sharon. I ran a search for prisons that were hit the hardest, and it came back with a prison just outside of Moscow. Writing down the address, I headed out. I need a car, I called Dolores once I found her in the kitchen. She was chopping vegetables with gusto and didn't look up when I spoke. Take any in the garage, she said, swiping everything into a pot, and be back in time for dinner. Be back before the streetlights come on. I'm not sure I can. Be back in time for dinner, she repeated, an edge in her voice. I swallowed and nodded. I chose a little automatic shoebox that looked like a toy next to the racing vehicle around it. Oh my God, it was the only one I felt comfortable driving, so I didn't care too much if I scratched the paint. At the end of the driveway, I pulled out the paper map I had swiped from another car and an old car GPS device I had found in the house. Program the GPS. About an hour later, I admitted I was hopelessly lost. Oh, I shouldn't have trusted the GPS. After trying one system and failing, I had tried the other and also failed. Now I was parked on the side of the road, staring at both the map and the GPS, trying to make sense of it. Thing was, if I believed what the GPS was telling me, then the map must be wrong. However, the map wasn't in English, so I couldn't confirm anything. Modi would have been able to help me. For the first time since leaving America, I was completely on my own, and the more I stared at the GPS and the map, the more I realized I didn't even know how to get back to the jet. And Dolores, fuck! I'm gonna miss dinner! I'm gonna miss some stew! The rumbling of another car announced itself somewhere down the road, the first one since I pulled over to the side 20 minutes ago. Burying my pride, I stuck my hand out to flag down the driver, hoping to ask for assistance. The car pulled up beside me and the driver's side window rolled down. Hey, I'm sorry, do you know English? My words trailed off when I saw the impressive look of submachine gun pointing at Oh! Again. Again. Really? Again. Am I gonna get kidnapped? How many times have I been kidnapped? I'm about to just say that's like 6. That's 6 times I've been kidnapped, bro. Am I about to get kidnapped or am I about to get shot? Oh my god. There were only 2 women in the car, but they meant business. Talk to them calmly. Pull the taser from your back pocket. Tase him, bruh, tase it. Now, ladies, I said, taking a step back and suddenly reaching behind me for my pocket. The driver said something in Russian and gestured around with her weapon. Jumping on that opportunity, I pulled out the tape. Oh god. Thunk. The projectile from the taser stuck the driver in her collarbone and she spasmed, causing the car to screech forward suddenly. Did I get him? The car drove into a ditch with an almighty crash and I winced. Carefully, I pulled out my second taser from my bag and approached the car. The front engine was crumpled in and neither woman was conscious. I reached in and felt their pulses and found them both to be alive. Hopefully they were just knocked out and not something more serious. I dialed the police's number, jumped into my car, and drove away. I had no plans of being around when the police arrived. To my surprise, when the line connected, I was asked by a recorded voice to leave a message. Not seeing any choice, I left a message. 10 minutes later, there was still no sign of an ambulance. I told myself maybe they were coming from the other direction. While I was stopping to refuel the car, I sent a quick text message to Dolores. Lost. May have caused an accident. Don't think anyone saw my license plate. My phone began ringing immediately. Pick it up. Bruh. I answered the call. Dolores? Crank is picking you up, she said brusquely. He'll drive you from now on. Now I got a personal driver. She hung up the phone. I wasn't sure how he found me, but Crank drove a snazzy sports car next to me when I was wandering aimlessly on the outskirts of Moscow. I hear you need a driver, he muttered dryly. I groaned and climbed in the car, feeling like a petulant teen who had just been caught sneaking out. Where are we going, he asked, looking over his sunglasses at me. I don't even know where we are, I muttered, pulling out the GPS from my bag and switching it on. Don't bother with that, he shook his head. They don't work anymore. Oh, that's why! How do you know? He shrugged, driving aimlessly around. Dagger was researching something related to it. She got some kind of technical degree. I just followed orders. I tossed the GPS onto the back seat. It was useless now anyways. I told Crank where I was going and he turned around without needing direction, speeding away. Rubbing at my wrist, I missed Modi keenly. I had not realized how reliant I was on Modi's companionship and technology. Being without Modi felt like a hole in my life. I looked at Crank out the corner of my eye. Could he have taken Modi? Yes, he could have. Do I want to confront him and make him mad? I don't want to make him mad and he's driving me. But now I'm a risk taker. Confront him. My Modicon was stolen, I said bluntly. I know, you replied without skipping a beat. Montague told me. I refueled the jet, ready to take off. The conversation wasn't over. Just like that, I didn't push it. I noticed you dropped this, miss. Oh wait, what? What? I noticed you dropped the miss in Miss Montague, I noted, relaxing back as he drove. Crank snorted and waited for several moments before explaining. It's not like she's my superior anymore, he said dismissively. We don't work for her. You're not getting paid to be ordered around, I said. I asked, surprised that Crank would go along with that. She said that we still get paid for another 2 months, he explained, though his tone indicated that he thought something different. dagger too, I'm assuming. She's what's keeping me with this, he said honestly, glancing at me. We'd been a team for a long time. I could understand that. I rubbed my wrist again, missing Modi, my own partner. He swore under his breath suddenly. I looked around to see what the problem was. He was shaking his head. I never thought I'd be one of the scumbags on the complications matrix, he explained. All the fun happens on the complication matrix, it seems. We pulled up outside a prison that would have fit right in a horror movie. There was no one patrolling the fence, so Crank drove up to the front door and looked at me. Want me to come with you? He asked, boredom cleared in his voice. I might need a getaway car, I shook my head. I'll call you if I need you. He nodded and pulled out his phone, plugging in headphones to listen to music. Oh my god. Armed with the photo of Vadik on my tablet, I walked up to the front desk beside the prison and squared my shoulders. I wasn't going to be turned away this time. Look, the hard-faced woman stared when I got to her desk. I don't care if you want to sue. I've more shit to deal with than your husband's sister or father's murderer breaking out. I don't want to sue, I muttered, taken aback. Oh, in that case, what do you want? She asked, relaxing somewhat. I'm just wondering if this man was here before the breakout, I said, showing her photo. I'm doing an article on notorious hackers and Vadik was on my list. Yeah, he's here, she nodded, frowning. One of the few we didn't lose. He's still here, I asked, and she nodded in confirmation. Was I finally in luck? Can I speak to him? She pursed her lips and narrowed her eyes at me and shrugged. Sure, it's still half an hour to visiting, but I've got better things to do. I'll have a guard escort you through if you're ready now. I just need to get my kit from the car. Kit, she asked. No kit, not even a tablet. All I'll allow is a recorder and notepad and a pencil. Anything else, and it's a liability. I swallowed. Liability? I pulled my notepad from a bag and passed the rest to her, receiving a ticket in return so I could get it all back later. A guard appeared after she rang the bell, and she told him to take me to the palace. For an absurd moment, I wondered I was meeting a princess. It took 20 minutes for the guard to check my clothing and the contents of my notepad. Finally, I was let into a room with a bench and 2 chairs. I'll be outside this door, the guard mumbled, tapping on the door. I came through. Don't give him computer, he crazy. Don't give him computer, he crazy. And with that, he left and closed the door behind him. Computer crazy, either I'd hit jackpot or Vadik was crazy useless. The opposite door opened. Vadik walked in and another guard who locked him with handcuffs to the table and then left us alone. He looked exactly the same as his photo in the article. Mr. Vadik, you're a hard man to find. You and I have a friend in common. I do not have friends, stranger, he replied and put his feet up on the table. You're the first person to see me in years. His English was perfect, and it did not even have a hint of a Russian accent. Oh, well then I shouldn't have done the little... Clearing my throat, I glanced behind me to the guards outside the window. They can't hear unless you yell, he said, yelling the last word for emphasis. The guards turned and looked in the window before turning back. They stopped recording my conversation after I stole the speakers. He laughed, scratching his Seen Sharon recently? I asked, switching my tack towards honesty and abrasiveness rather than trying to skirt the subject. Vadik removed his feet from the table and sat up very slowly. Leaning forward onto the table and staring at me in the eyes, he cocked his head. What do you know about my Sharon? My Sharon! Bingo. Your Sharon, how long is it? Well, I guess you do have friends then. Your Sharon? How long has it been since you saw her? Vadik sat back again, crossing his arms. I think I'm done here, he muttered, raising a finger to call the guards. I'm looking for her too, I said hastily before the guards could enter. I thought she might have been behind the prison breaks here. The guard walked forward, but Vadik hissed at him, waving him off. With a bored sigh, the guard returned to his post. All you Russians seem to act bored about everything, I noted, smiling at the guard through the window. Life is boring, Vadik muttered. Sharon is fun, though. Why do you think she's here? His accent deepened when he talked about Sharon, but I also saw some concern. We came to Russia looking for leads, I said carefully. Just after we arrived, she disappeared on me, said something about going to see an old friend, the best hacker in the country. He grinned slowly and cunningly. She remembered me well then, he drawled. And if you know her, you know her. Plans are a little on the crazy side, I added. Has she tried to contact you in any way? He shook his head. My Shaza hasn't been around in recent years. Truthfully, I thought she never wanted to see me again. So you can't help me find her then? You've met Shaza, right? He asked. Of course, I muttered, confused. Then she ain't going to be found unless she wants to be. There was a definite truth to what he was saying. Yeah? She came here to find you, I mused. If I can get you out, then maybe she'll find us. And how do you plan on getting me out here? He asked sarcastically. You don't even speak Russian. That was true as well. I cursed the fact that Modi was missing. With Modi, I could have made more headway or passed Modi over to Vadik to do some crazy computer genius thing. If Sharon had Modi, I didn't know if I wanted to find her. If I could get you a computer, can you get yourself out? I asked, careful to keep my voice low. He smiled in a way that wasn't so reassuring. 100% yes. Ooh, I'll return with something. Hold tight. And I'm going to call that the end of the video. I'll see you guys in the next one, and bye.